Hey guys, I'm here again to continue reacting to the songs on Augusti's new album. Today I'm going to be doing Moonlight, and I'm sorry if you're seeing a lot of the exact same, like, clothing, makeup, all that, because I've been filming, like, a lot of videos in a day. It's been non-stop, just, like, film, edit, like, daily, you know? So yeah, I'm sorry if you end up seeing, like, a lot of the same thing of me, but, I at least changed my shirt for the evening. I was filming in purple earlier, but my face is the same. Anywho, besides the point, let's go ahead and hop into Moonlight. Okay. 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 Yeah, it has been, wow. Talking about writing it, I love that. I've talked about this in other reactions to his songs. Is that it? Oh wow, that went too fast. Wow. Oh, I love that. See, this is what we were talking about earlier in another video about the fact that people are just people at the end of the day. Like, no matter how big you get or how famous or what you achieve, you know, your life's going to be different from other people's, but at the end of the day, like, you're still going to be yourself. Even if you do change as a person, it's still going to be you. You're in your own head, you know, like, you're living your own life, and you're still going to essentially, in a sense, be that same person that you were before. Or at least, like, you'll identify with it to some extent. Now, okay, let's go back through the lyrics a little bit here and, like, touch upon things in more detail. See, what I really love about this is that he literally writes the process, because that's something I've always been really curious about. Like, the actual process of creating the music and, like, what the day-to-day looks like for him, you know? Like, how much time does he, like, put into just sitting there making music, you know? Like, the life seems all glamorous and everything, but, like, in reality, most of the time, he's probably just, like, working on things that, like, any other artist would work on, no matter how famous you are, you know? Like, I think about this a lot lately, how even, like, when they're, like, super famous and well-known and everything, right? Any star or celebrity you look at, they're still doing the same things that, like, they were doing before as trainees or that other people are doing, if that makes sense. Like some random person completely unknown to the world who's really passionate about music, who spends hours a day writing and creating, and, you know, or dancers who, like, you know, just maybe they're training for something, or they just want to do it for themselves because they love dance, you know, like they spend hours like refining that craft. People do that all the time. And like not famous people, but ordinary people who just like that's their passion. And like at the end of the day, is it really that different? Like he's just doing the same things that other people are doing, except for him it like got him somewhere because like the world noticed it and recognized it. And like, yeah, I think he's incredibly talented, which like he went into this, like sometimes I think I'm a genius, sometimes I think I'm like I have no talent at all. And I definitely think he does have talent, 100%. Or at least, like, once you work at something for a long time and refine it, like, you just get good at it through practice, too. So, like, I don't know what his path was, but I feel like he does have a natural gift for this to some extent. Like, I think hard work really paid off for him, but also I think he's naturally, like, kind of, it's meant for him, you know? It just seems that way. And, like, yeah, I just really appreciate him kind of documenting the process of it all. So, anyway, let's go ahead and... Yeah, I don't have any songs. Like, I love that he's literally talking about, like, the process of creating things. Because, like, for me, I always imagine that, like, once you're successful, you just know exactly what to do. Like, it's always right in front of you. Like, you have an exact agenda, exact set plan. Like, everything is just laid out perfectly, cleanly in front of you. But, like, of course not. You know? Like, he's experiencing the same issues anyone else would in that extent. Like, I don't know what to write. You know? Like, who wouldn't go through that? Like, of course, you know? Yeah, this is, like, crazy, you know? The way things have changed for him in that sense. But in others, it hasn't. So can't wake up Peter Pan's reality in my head. He said, I'm sick and tired of fighting ideals. Yeah, maybe, like, he just wants to create what he wants to. And, like, he was saying, I think it's in a line later on, but, like, people... I think are trying to control what he puts out at this point because, like, it's a big deal. He knows how many people are going to see it, and there's a company there, too, you know? It's not just him. And, like, sometimes I'm also surprised that he's allowed to put out things like this, but, like, that's, I think, exactly what brings him success and brings BTS success, is that they don't have some of those same limitations that other companies would put on them, and I think that's fantastic, that they have this kind of freedom, because I think that's what really ends up sticking with people in, like, a slightly different way, when they can, like, really go in with the lyrics and, like, their own music and, like, express themselves in that kind of way. Greatest enemy is the anger inside, the fight against the laziness inside me. See, we're doing really good. This I really understand. See, that's another thing I've always really wondered about him, is that he really, like, gives off that kind of energy of, like, you know, like, we know that he likes sleep and, like, you know, the whole in next life, like, I would be born as a rock, that whole thing, right? That, like, members have said about him, he said, like, he seems like a naturally kind of lazy person, but at the same time, how is that, like, how can that be possible? Like, he clearly works so hard and produces so much. Like, it seems like he's working nonstop, and, like, his greed and, like, that need to, like, succeed and prove himself maybe takes him over to the point where he can force himself to do things. And, like, at the same time, he seems passionate about it. Like, I feel like he loves what he does, even though, of course, like, artist block is a thing that happens, and, like, eventually you'll, you know, occasionally, like, get tired of it and, like, need a break and whatever. Like, you know, all that aside, I feel like he seems passionate about music. Like, that's why he started this, and he talks about this here. And yet, like, he talks about the laziness as well, and it's just conflicting, because it's like he has these two completely opposite personas, like the kind of lethargic side and the incredibly passionate side, and it's like, who is he, you know? I guess a mix of both. I guess, you know, there's no such thing as a black and white person. He's also talked about that, about, like, everything being black and white in songs. Yeah, everything kind of ends up tying back together. Like, this is something I 100% relate to. Like, I feel like there's things I want to accomplish, but then I'm wondering, like, do I really want to accomplish that? And, like, I'm such a lazy oh my god, I'm so lazy. Or, not so much lazy, but, like, my anxiety causes me to be lazy, I think, is part of the problem, too. It's a whole mix of things. It's messy. I mean, of course it's gonna be messy. But, like, basically, I get what he's saying, where, like, you feel like you have a passion for something, but, like, you're too lazy to actually do it. I feel like for me personally, that might largely be because of the internet and because of, like, getting a phone and a laptop where I can just distract myself and, like, I've really badly reduced my attention span in general to like actually focus and do anything. And I think that's one thing that he really excels at is kind of, he's mentioned, I think, that he doesn't really use the internet or like read comments, whatever, like all that type of stuff. And so I think he's really kind of ahead of the game. Sorry, there's hair in my eye. Ahead of the game in that sense where, you know, he doesn't have that type of distraction as much. I mean, I don't know what he does in his day-to-day life, but I feel like that's the issue for me. And like, if he doesn't have that, that's great. But, you know, everyone's gonna have different roadblocks, kind of. This really went on a personal tangent. Let's keep going. Sometimes I ask what I do and if I love music. I mean, of course, I think everyone at one point questions, like, is this really what I want to be doing? Moments like that will happen. If I could go back, would I go back? Well, that's a bit of a worry. Yeah, I feel like once you've made it that far, just dropping it all to go back, I don't know. I feel like that's a really difficult thing to do. Like, even if you're unhappy, giving it all up after, like, everything you've gone through, I feel like just seems out of the question. I think I got what I had easily. This line is really interesting as well, like, the conflict, you know, like, as soon as he has this one thought of, like, it came easy, he's like, no, actually, I struggled so much and, like, went through so much. That definitely, I think, can also happen, like, the thought of, like, maybe a lot of it was kind of just luck. To some extent, that may be true. Some people just end up in the right place at the right time, and that helps them. Like, a lot of people work really hard and never make it anywhere, so, like, to an extent, I guess you can say that. But at the same time, like, yeah, he definitely did go through hell and back, right, for all this, and I guess considering a reward is also viable. I'm still hungry. Is this karma, the emptiness felt by flying damn high? Yeah, that's the part that sucks, huh? Like, when you have all the drive to accomplish something and, like, you do so much and then you almost feel empty after all that. That's the worst. It's like everything you thought you wanted, you have, and then once you're there, it's like, oh. I think that's one of the banes of human existence, that's just how it is. People always want more. Like, you can never just be satisfied with your life. Like, that's not a thing. People, like, I think in order for people to, like, keep going and keep living, they need to have something to aspire towards. And I think that's partly why, like, you know, there's this phenomenon where, like, if you don't have a present issue in your life, your brain will create an issue just by overthinking or, like, creating a problem where there isn't one, because, like, human brains are so developed that, like, they need problems to solve all the time. Like, that's what we're wired to do. And when we don't have a problem, we create one, and I think that's partly what that is, you know? Not necessarily karma, but just life, which sucks to accept, but, you know, I think that's just what it is. I don't think anyone has ever reached the top and just been satisfied with it, and, like, just been happy. Like, no. This is the part. Oh, hi. Hi, friend. Yeah. This makes perfect sense. It's another thing. I think people think that once they make it somewhere, their brain's just gonna calm down and things will be better. But no, like, it's your brain. Your brain's gonna keep thinking in the way your brain thinks, no matter how much money you have or how many people know your name or, like, what big events you go to, you know? It's still gonna be your brain. Like, sorry, but that's just the truth of it. Like, it's just really gotta suck to realize that, you know? Because most people at least kind of have that hope of getting there someday, and that hope keeps them going. But once you've already gotten there, I don't know. I imagine it would feel like there's nothing else left, you know? Like, once you achieve everything that you've wanted, you know, I'm sure it just feels like, what's the point anymore, you know? And that's a really scary place to be. That's why I guess you gotta just reorient and find something new to focus on and work towards. I think we just innately need that as human beings. Yeah, this line really hit, because, like, I feel that my brain is too complicated, 100%. And, like, you know, I keep thinking maybe someday that'll go away, but probably not, to be honest. That's just something we gotta live with. God, I would love to have a conversation with him. Just to sit down and talk for a while and contemplate life. He's definitely a person, like, I would love to just have a talk with. Anyway, continuing. My life has changed a lot, but that moonlight is still the same. I love this line, like, this chorus. Like, that's just really the takeaway, isn't it? It's the same life. You know, you're on the same earth, and every day you wake up and go to bed to that same cycle, and no matter what you achieve, that's going to be that. Moonlight at dawn is just like it was then. Yeah. It's one thing that'll never change. Well, I mean, you know, until the universe shifts and whatever, and stars explode and, you know, all that, but I'm talking within our lifetime. This is definitely really comforting. It's something that, like, I'll have to go back to a lot, this song. His music has always been incredibly comforting for me, because, like, it's almost like I trust him. I trust his words. It's like I said before, like, he has the exact kind of energy that I'm drawn to in a person, and, like, there's certain people who I just kind of, like, trust their intuition and their life experiences. And he's just one of those people for me that, like, I'm really just naturally drawn to, like, listen to him and really hear him out. Because I feel like he thinks deeply too, and, like, I just really want to know his experiences. So yeah, his music is definitely really comforting in that way, where, like, I feel like I can trust it when I feel sad, or, like, when I'm confused or anxious or anything like that. Like, his words kind of help. Yeah, this part again, sometimes I feel like I'm a genius, sometimes I feel like I'm not talented. I think everyone has those moments too. Well, not everyone, but it's an understandable feeling. You know, sometimes you're like, yo, I did that. And other times you're like, oh my god, I don't know how to do anything. 'Tis life, again. Sometimes this song comes out like crazy. When it gets stuck again, it gets stuck forever. The artist's workflow is really something. Sometimes you can just create, and then sometimes you mentally just shut out. Like, you can't do it. Yeah. And then it's really scary, that place where you're like, I don't know if, like, I can ever get back into it the same way again. Like, yeah, there's some negative headspaces. Even now, verse 1 was written so fast, verse 2 doesn't really come out. I guess even as he was writing this, maybe, like, these very lyrics took him a while to get out. Yes, I really like that he's talking about the process. Life's gonna be the same, all or nothing. There's no parallel. It's a matter of choice. Life just is what it is, I guess. It's kind of the takeaway. And decide what you do with it. Eternity won't exist. The existence of immortality is incredibly burdensome. Oh yeah, for sure. I can't imagine, like, being immortal seems like the most awful thing ever. To just keep existing forever, it would be too much. He talked about that in another song as well, right? Like, the kind of how temporary it all is. Life, like, we kind of just float by, and that's okay. Sorry, because I like the music modifiers put on me sometimes too much. I think this is where I was going earlier with the whole, like, he has a company and he's in a certain music industry, and like, can kind of creatively stunt artists, I guess, like him. Like, there's something specific he wants to do, but like, he's trying to fit it into the world around him, I guess, and that can be a bit burdensome. What can I do? Just run. Grab what I've got. He talks about running a lot, you know, like, feeling that need to run away from all the pressure, and that's another terrible feeling, you know? Like, when you get yourself into something and you're like, oh god, and then you realize, like, the pressure of it all, and you just wish you could, like, kind of take it all back and not deal with it, and go back to just, I don't know, laying in your bed and pretending the outside world doesn't exist. Yeah. That's how it be sometimes, and I can only imagine, like, the next level of pressure he feels, because, like, if I think I feel pressure, then with the number of people that know him, I can only imagine, like, what level that's brought up to. I don't want to imagine, but, you know, he definitely has all my sympathy with that. To pay you back. He's probably talking about himself. Like, pay himself back for all the work. Like, you know, he can't just take it back and give it up. Like, he's already gone this far, so I guess he feels the need to, like, give it back, like, for himself, to keep working hard. This next line, though, if you feel like you're gonna crash, then accelerate more, you idiot. That's such a good line, wow. I mean, don't do that when you're driving, please. But for life, I understand the metaphor. It's almost like he's talking to himself about that, you know? This whole thing seems like talking to himself. Like, when it becomes overwhelming, like, you need to just push through it and make the best of it. Which is a really damn hard thing to do. Because when your brain feels like shutting down, you know, powering through that is almost impossible sometimes. And, yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, this is, I guess, solid advice. maybe slightly harmful advice, but sometimes solid. I think it really depends on the situation, but in his situation, like, I understand where he's coming from. And there's changes inevitable for everyone. Maybe how we're changing is our job. And it'd be like saying, like, is it like our job to figure out how to change? And oh, that's scary. God, I really don't like change personally. Really can't deal with it. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like change, but like, I really don't deal well with change. So this is also kind of like, in a sense, comforting, you know? Like, we have to change and grow, otherwise what are we left with? Everything's always just gonna be the same. Like, you're never gonna discover anything new or achieve anything new or like think differently. You just gotta put yourself out there into the world and do something. Alright, that was Moonlight. Oh, I love having these deep talks about this, and wow, his songs just hit different. I really love hearing what he has to say. And damn, the songs are good. Alrighty, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like, you can follow me on Instagram at Alice on the Internet, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone!